guys, welcome back. It's Talsy. Today I wanted to talk about how and why you need to stop letting the 3D control your manifestation or tell you who you are and what you actually have, okay? And I know that this is a bit of a challenge for a lot of people who are consciously manifesting, that intellectually understand manifestation, but tend to get thrown around a lot by circumstances, conditions, outer appearances, or perceptions. And so one of the biggest misunderstandings in manifestation, I feel, especially when it comes to what we'd call like bigger desires, not that anything is bigger or smaller, it's just your perception and your beliefs. For example, relationships, you know, having an SP conform or show up differently, or say a larger sum of money or a career change that previously you from one state felt was unachievable or impossible, is the 3D and, you know, the circumstances and conditions that have been made manifest from one particular identity. So something that's important to understand is that, because detaching from the 3D or denying it, people misunderstand it like pretending. And so it's not really about pretending that that stuff hasn't somehow shown up, right? It is, though, about acknowledging that it's something that is temporary and it's a manifestation of one state of consciousness. Some people get a little bit defensive about that because they go, well, why would I manifest that? That's not what I want. Now, guys, you manifest from who you're being, not what you wish for, okay? So ultimately, it's all coming down to state of being. Okay, so if the detaching or the denying is deciding, okay, look, I'm not going to allow that to define who I am and what I believe I'm receiving in the now, okay? Because everything is existing in the now. So the other thing to note is that when you make a conscious selection, you're already on that timeline, and that is what is unfolding for you inevitably. And the only perceived delay or lag, even I've spoken about this, guys, there is no lag. The fastest route to have it materialize from the unseen to seen is your perception and your state. The mistake that people make is they say, I really, really want this thing. Then they look at former 3D circumstances like the shadow of a previous state, and they persist in focusing on that and saying nothing has changed. So ultimately, you have not really shifted your state or your perception. Now, you can only perceive from the state that you're in, guys. So ultimately, it's like if you're staring at the outside, which is a shadow of thoughts and assumptions from another state, and you keep looking and checking to see that they've changed, that you get what you desire, then you're essentially just only perceiving from that state. So even in the case of, say, guys, like an SP, for example, when you're chasing for signs, evidence, or, you know, checking the 3D and then only perceiving lag, unfavorable circumstances, old behaviors, etc., it's because you haven't aligned your thoughts, your assumptions, and your focus with a state that has it, okay? Now, I also want to talk about that sometimes, you know, things are moving around or unraveling in unusual ways where you're like, this doesn't line up entirely with my choice, my preferred choice, but you're assigning meanings to that, like that are not serving your end that you've chosen. And you have to understand that. Why do we say don't mess with the middle? Okay? We don't mess with the middle because we understand that the middle is moving around and reorganizing itself in ways that may not make sense to a former state, okay? Because the state that you've chosen, everything is complete and taken care of, and the middle is something that's moving around in accordance with this decision that you've made. And so the only thing that you need to do when it comes to denying or detaching from 3D circumstances is to assign the meaning that this is working in your favor, or to decide again in the now moment that no matter what, you are the you that has what you want, because ultimately one state and another state has a completely different perception, okay? So the thing about the perception, guys, if we were to talk about an SP, for example, I said that you cannot perceive other than the state that you're in. So you're going to find that if you persist in the state of being the you that knows, for example, you're loved, you're chosen, this person is in love with you, you're going to perceive movement, or you're going to perceive an action that they take towards you very differently than a state where you haven't stuck to that decision, because you're going to perceive, it's like you're filtering on the basis of not having it, old perceptions, circumstances, conditions, right? So for example, in the case of a text, right, you're going to perceive the text in a very different way. You're going to still be reacting, reinforcing from an identity that doesn't really assume that you have it. In the case of, for example, you making a decision that this person's in love with me, they want me, even in the case, guys, where you have from a former state perceived that there is no contact. This state where you've made that decision is completely confident and secure that this person loves you. You're in the habit of naturally assuming that this person is wanting you, talking to you, etc. This is where you close the lag, okay? You're not reacting, you're not waiting, and you're not hoping, and you're not wishing, which I've likened, by the way, in other videos to like waiting for a pot to boil. This is like messing with the middle, guys. If you put on a pot and you're boiling it to make some pasta, you're not watching it endlessly. Or have you ever done that, guys? It feels really, really long, right? If you do it and then you get on and you do your thing, you know that that pot's boiling and that you're going to put the pasta in, and then the pasta's going to cook, right? You don't question it. You don't worry about it. You're like, I'm making pasta tonight, okay? So in this case, guys, what's happening is I'm just trying to give you an analogy. If you've made a decision, I am the one that has the SP, okay, they love me. It's really your only job. And in the meantime, everything's going to unfold really perfectly and very quickly, guys, because your subconscious is just taking that instruction and moving things around. And you're going to perceive from that state, which means that you're going to take the right divine intuitive action or no action, guys. For example, you don't really have to take action, but you would get on with your day, you'd move about your day. It's energetic. And also in the case of you guys who are manifesting things, for example, money, jobs, etc., opportunity, you're going to be moving about your day and you're going to take any intuitive action that is very effortless, but it's going to be in perfect alignment, because from that state, that's all perfect, right? Like it's working itself out in the most miraculous, fastest way. So old conditioning from another state, the one that does not have or is wishing for, is hoping for, is going to perceive a lot of blocks and delays and conditions and impossibility, okay? So when we see circumstances or conditions, or we have a perception that something isn't working, it is usually a couple of things. One, things are recalibrating, guys, and you have to trust in that, because your reality is always working for you. It's not working against you. You're the operant power. When you've made a decision, that thing that you've chosen is created and you're already in that timeline. And so if things look contrary, it's usually just because, your perception's adjusting in some kind of a way, right? Like, because you're going from a state that thinks that things are out of reach to a state that thinks that that knows that you have it, and therefore you're a little bit in this tug of war where you're perceiving things as contrary. For example, guys, if your SP shows up and appears like, I don't know, rude, or to be ignoring you when you said that they're in love with you, you just need to stick to the identity that says, well, but they're in love with me, okay? Now, first of all, we're going to filter everything anyway based on our consistent dominant state, our thoughts and assumptions connected to an identity. So you're getting used to being this version of you that thinks and assumes in a certain type of a way. And sometimes there's a little bit of this thinking in the old way, like old conditioning, old assumptions, okay? For example, Sally, who's used to assuming that her SP ignores her, is going to be very tempted to go back to believing that her SP is ignoring her. Sally, who assumes that her SP is madly in love with her and that's the decision she's made, is going to be very neutral and cool about that, persisting in that, knowing that. And her SP may be looking like they're a little bit quieter than normal, but she's not going to think that this is an indication that her SP doesn't love her, is ignoring her. So I hope I'm making this clear. Look, your main responsibility is to not allow outer appearances, temporary, because the 3D is moving with you, and anything you're even experiencing in the now is a shadow of where you have been focusing, okay? But the key is to not allow it to define you if it's not what you prefer, okay? or not allowing it to define you full stop, because it can't define you because you define it, all right? But the key is to just see it as something that is a reflection, and to decide again who you are and know that the reflection is adjusting, okay? And so no, this doesn't have to be a long, endless process, but it does involve conditioning yourself to think, assume, be, and behave from a particular state that you may not be in the habit of occupying, okay? So whoever you're in the habit of being, and whatever you are continuously focusing on, like your perception and you know, how you emotionally identify with your outer reality, is going to be what expands. And so this is just about building momentum and a habit in thinking, assuming, and feeling a certain type of a way that is contrary to that, okay? So they're not texting me, there's a third party, money isn't here yet, is just you reaffirming an identity. It's nothing to do with the outer circumstances, the SP, the bank account, etc. I'm not telling you guys to be irresponsible, not pay your bills, or not go to a job that is not what you're affirming for, like not your dream job. But you have to do and deal with your daily in the knowing that everything from the minute you've made the decision is recalibrating and to stick to your decision, and nothing's permanent, okay? So your reality is readjusting, and you are not seeing beyond your five senses, guys. I mean, that's the other thing, is that Sally, that's decided her SP loves her, is sitting in the same room, okay? And SPs might be in another country, another home, another neighborhood, at work, and she can't see that her SP is looking at their phone and looking at a photo of Sally and thinking, I need to be next to Sally. And that's the fastest route where that SP is going to reach out very quickly, versus, so the Sally that's decided that SP doesn't love her is staring at that pot, that pasta pot that I explained earlier in the video, and waiting to see whether or not SP is going to reach out, and then very aware that SP isn't, and it drags and it drags and it drags. So your subconscious is rearranging everything from the decision. So same as a job. If you're going to a job that is not what you prefer, you have no idea once you made a decision, no, I am that I am. I have my dream job, or I get paid to exist. I don't even need to work. Guys, you're limitless. You can't see millions of people are moving around or whatever, like in perfect harmony with that decision. And all you need to do is not make that decision, then go to your work and say, well, it's not working because I'm still sitting at my job. Now, literally things can move miraculously, even overnight or very quickly. It's all coming down to who you're being and sticking to your perception, okay? Because even if we were to talk about intuitive guidance, guys, like, you're going to align perfectly. So say you've made the decision with regards to the lifestyle, the job, you know, you will pick up the phone and call a friend who's going to offer you the opportunity of a lifetime, because it's going to feel very intuitive, it's going to be in flow. Or you're going to get some kind of a windfall of cash somehow, or you're going to have that creative inspiration to do something that you feel is very effortless and it's going to pay off in a miraculous way. Or like I said, in the case of SP, you're going to just be very much aligned with that energy. You're going to be pushing that out, and your SP is going to be compelled to act upon that, versus you being in a state where you're reinforcing conditions, circumstances, etc., from another state of not having and getting reinforcement of that, okay? So I know I've talked around a little bit, but I hope that that kind of clarifies. So your 3D circumstances are moving with you, with your state, with your perception, and the illusion of things working against you is you perceiving them so and not allowing, okay? Not allowing, because the version of you that is in the confident knowing that this is who you are, which is the basis, guys, that I am that I am. I have the thing because I am total and complete, and I get to choose my experience, my end, and I'm in my end. You are not bothered. You're very detached from the circumstances and conditions. You actually just like laugh at them like, oh, that's hilarious. That's a shadow of something, of another version of me. And I've let that go. I've detached from it. So, you know, this version that you're choosing is totally unconcerned with the middle. And when I say a middle, guys, I'm not implying a long, endless thing where you're waiting for a middle to unfold. It's so fast, like, because your divine intelligence is very smart, okay? It knows exactly what to do. And even when things look wacky, okay, you have to trust that somehow that's like, it's perfect, it's working for you. And all you need to do is keep reiterating that this is your reality, okay? And keeping your thoughts and assumptions in alignment with that person that has it. So how would the version of me that knows no matter what, like, I got it, like, this is happening, and that confidence in the knowing, how would I react if something looks a little unusual or funny, or SP doesn't look fully conformed? You would be like, well, that's funny because I have them, or this must be perfect. I mean, even guys, when it comes down to like taking the wrong turn in some kind of a way, what you would label as the wrong turn. You know, like you've said, this is about us over controlling things, right? So it's like, have you ever said, okay, look, I want to go to a particular place today, and then there's like a lot of traffic, for example, and you're like, fuck, like, why? This is hell. Like, why does nothing ever work out for me? But then you've gotten to the place, and because of that little adjustment, if you hadn't have been stuck in traffic, you wouldn't have, like, say, run into a particular person at a specific time, or maybe you got there and, like, let's say for the example of a restaurant, like, you got delayed and suddenly you're at the restaurant and you get the preferred table or the seat that you wanted because people are clearing out at that exact time. I don't know, guys, I'm just giving you examples. You have to understand that ultimately the end that you choose for the specific desire is a done deal. And so anything in the middle is somehow going to, when you look back, because it's unfolded perfectly, you're going to be like, okay, that makes sense. Okay, guys? I'm not saying to you that you can't manifest like a very, very specific desire. Like, you know, there's always going to be some kind of a bridge, but the bridge could be nothing and it can be unperceived. So a bridge might be like, my SP's obsessed with me, they want to talk to me right now. And then you get on with your day, you're going to get the text. Now, you're not perceiving the bridge. The bridge might be like they're getting that ping immediately, you're already in that reality, and they feel compelled to talk to you, even if you've perceived that it was weeks that you haven't heard from them. But a bridge could also be, like I said, I have my dream job. Things are recalibrating in crazy ways that you're not perceiving, and it might be that something happens at work, and then you decide, okay, I want to call a friend today when you get home, and you're going to call a friend and they're going to be like, oh, but I have a job opening and it's like your dream job, or like, let's start a business together and it's perfect. So like ultimately whatever you want, it's working. Okay. So what to do when the 3D triggers you and circumstances trigger you? The goal isn't to panic or react. The goal is to return to your identity. Okay, regulate yourself by returning again to the now moment, reminding yourself, okay, who am I being and what have I chosen from this version of me? I'm the me that has exactly what I want. If it's referring to an SP, just say something shows up that's particularly unfavorable for you. Well, you can always say, well, that's not my end and that's not the version that I've chosen, so no need to worry. Okay, like, it's all happening. Everything's happening for me. Or you could say that this is working out perfectly for me. This is going to work in my favor. Okay. Or just completely detach, deny, like I said. Now, deny is just you saying, I'm going to like forget about that and not feed it, and just go within and say, okay, I'm the one that chooses my experience. I can't really lose here. Okay. Everything is already done. So I'm just going to persist in my decision that I'm the one that has this thing. I'm going to think again, I'm going to assume again, and I'm just going to let that just die. But the identity is the one that produces the reality you want, or rather is like going to experience and materialize the reality you want. So denying appearances means that you just stop letting the outside world tell you who you are. You stop reacting to old perceptions, circumstances, and conditions that are a shadow of you, and assuming that they control your future, or that they're unmovable, or that they're permanent. You stop assigning meaning to these temporary things. You stop assigning unfavorable meaning to the outside and you instead decide, I know who I am. You persist, and you can do this pretty calmly, guys, okay? You can do this calmly because if you have the knowing, you feel pretty cool, you feel pretty calm, you feel pretty neutral. It's almost like a little inside joke for you, okay? You're just like, that's so funny because who's the power? I'm the power. My decision is final, so this must be unfolding no matter what, okay? The habit that changes everything is when you stop checking for evidence. Because partially, guys, I said to you, you cannot perceive other than from the state that you're in. If you keep checking for evidence, you are checking from the state that doesn't have. So what are you going to get? More evidence, okay? You're going to get those circumstances and conditions that seem to contradict you, which will disappear when you detach from them and you stop checking, okay? You need to remain faithful to the identity that doesn't need the evidence because you know you're the evidence. So it's not because circumstances, you have to say that they're perfect, but you have to have decided who you are regardless of those appearances and trust and have faith in that. You may not fully believe that what you have affirmed, in the case of what I said in the opening of the video about like big desires, some of you might find that it's a little unbelievable that you can manifest a sum of money that is not normal for another version of you. But you at least need to have that faith and that belief that your being is the ultimate and that is the final say, okay? So the more your external world, the more you can do that, the external world is going to catch up, like you're going to be in the perception and the identity that's going to experience it in the quickest possible way, okay? So guys, I really hope that that was helpful to you. And I wanted to announce that if you have been maybe struggling with this a little bit, or even if you just want some support, I'm going to be running a manifestation challenge. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to be going live for that period, and it's totally free. And I'd love you guys to join. The link is in the description box of the video. We're going to be running it, I think, next week. And so this is not about understanding more about manifestation or gaining more knowledge, but actually staying persistent in the identity of you that already knows that you have what you want. Even when the 3D tries to pull you back into an old story. And so over those days, I'm going to be helping you to practice this and build that level of consistency and faith and self-confidence in it, okay? So I'm sending you guys so much love. I hope to see you guys there, and I will check in with you soon.